Hi friends, Simply Starry, and if you are looking to finally pressure can some fish, like the fish that's been sitting in the freezer for way too long, or maybe you just scored a really great sale at the grocery store and some fresh fish, or maybe you went fishing this weekend and you got a whole bucket full of fish you don't know what to do with, this is going to be the video for you. I call it Speed Dial How to Pressure Can Fish. It's easy, it's fast, and it doesn't make any difference what type of fish you want to can. All fish can be pressure canned this way. So get your jars, get your fish, and let's get to it. For this recipe, you are going to pick your jar, and you can pick any jar you want depending on how big a batch of fish that you have. You may want pint jars. I love wide mouth. You may want a pint jar with the smaller mouth. Those are fine. Or if you have a lot of fish, you could go with quart jars, and you could go with also the narrow mouth or the wide mouth. Your jars just need to be clean, washed and clean, and that's it. Remember, when you are pressure canning, you do not need to sterilize those jars. So get your jars ready and get your lids and your rings set aside. Put the water in it, fill it up to the appropriate level, and what I like to do is I will put it on the stove and kind of get it going. I'll get that water heated up a little bit. I'll just loosely put that on. And then while I am waiting for that water to heat up just a little bit, I go back to stuffing my jars. Is rinse your fish and let it kind of drip dry a little bit. And then we're going to be stuffing our jars. Now for this recipe, is there a preference between using a small mouth compared to a large mouth? I think it's just personal preference, but the one thing you will keep in the back of your mind is when you do any pressure canning, the meat or the fish that you are going to pressure can will just fall apart. So using a small mouth jar is not going to be an issue with getting that food out because it's just going to fall apart. So that's why I'm actually using both. Now all we're simply going to do for this recipe is raw pack the fish into these jars. And you know, when we raw pack, we want them really pushed down, no air pockets, because all this food is actually going to shrink. Now the other thing about this recipe is you can pack your fish in there however you want. You can cut it into cubes. You can keep them like how I am, just in slabs. I'm doing skin on and I'm keeping the bones in. Remember, the bones will disintegrate. The bones are very healthy. Just like that. That's a whole backbone that I'm sticking in there. And you see how nice and how they fit? You just squeeze that in and you just push down. You can use a wooden spoon. You can use your hand. It doesn't make any difference. Just squish it all in there. And when I pack my jars, I really like to get right up onto the top because, again, remember, all of that fish is going to shrink. There we go. Doesn't that look beautiful? And then all you're going to do is get your lids on and put your rings on, and then we're going to put it in the canner that's already heating up. And again, never be afraid to do a small batch of anything. That is one of the reasons why I love the Presto canner, because when you have a half a batch or not a complete batch, you don't have to worry about filling up that whole canner. You just put, so now make sure your water level's okay, and now we're going to put the lid on and we're going to vent it for 15 minutes. That's what venting looks like, my friends. 15 minutes, and then you're going to put that jiggler on. After your allotted time, you're going to take the canner, and this is what I do, off the burner. You're going to let it decompress, and when it's decompressed fully, then you can actually take this off. It's safe, and you know it's going to be warm, but then you can finally open it up, and this takes a good hour, okay? And remember, or if this is your first time canning, that food is still going to be cooking. So you may see little bubbles in there, and it's still going to be cooking all the way until it decides it's going to cool off. And then when it cools off, you're going to start hearing the wonderful ping, ping, ping of it sealing. Like it's like, oh, see, you can even see all the bubbles. It's like when you go to the fairground and you win a prize. When you hear that popping sound, it is a wonderful sound for a person who cans. Look at how beautiful that meat is. And after I'm done with my canner, especially when I do something like fish, because you know fish has a smell, I will clean it real good with a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of soap and hot water. And it'll be good for the next use.